Hello and welcome to Todd Rolls Dice, where today we are enjoying the experiences of a new faction update from the Scourge of Ghyran. Come and embrace gifts from the Dark Prince. It looks like Lydia has the pleasure of bringing your lore drop today. But we're not here for that. We want the rules and how we can enhance our battle techniques. So what have we got? First of today's delightful excesses are a pair of battle formations. The invaders want to get into enemy territory and steal it from them. The pretenders, meanwhile, feature a hero with such a grotesque fate of hedonistic quality that their followers are in constant awe. They flex at every opportunity, gaining a new heroic trait from the figureheads of Slaanesh, or the Hedonistic Obsessions tables, during the deployment phase. The Hedonistic Obsessions table sounds tempting, doesn't it? There are all sorts of boons to tickle Slaaneshi fancy. The need for protection gives an extra unit euphoric if it fails to accomplish something perfectly, such as charging or casting a spell, as they are driven to do better next time. The Celebrity Warlord ascends a hero with such a celebrated status that mortal followers flock to their service. The Master of Temptation is perhaps the most delicious. Your opponent opts not to use any temptation dice in their turn. You can restrict one of their units to using only core abilities such as moving normally or fighting. Want to use all-out defense? Can we tempt you to use one of those special dice? The War Scroll updates for the Hedonites are for the Slaangor Fiendbloods and Syll'Esske the Vengeful Alliance. The Slaangor now lie in wait for their foes and pounce on them when the moment is right. What could be more terrifying than 9-foot goatmen with claw hands, huge horns and knee-high boots appearing out of nowhere? Probably Syll'Esske, whose inspiring presence encourages both mortals and demons to fight harder and faster. Put them in the middle of your battle line and be assured that you'll get plenty of attacks in before your opponent. On top of that, if Eske slays a wizard, he'll offer up one of their trinkets, talismans, or maybe even their severed head to Syll, whose wizard level will increase every time he does so. This can help them casting Wandering Minds, a new spell that strips ward saves from their foes and grants them to their demonic followers. Okay, that all sounds interesting. We'll take a look at the profiles in a moment. What's that stomping noise? Can you hear a rumbling? Grub's up tomorrow. I don't know what that would be. We've had the Orc Pigs. We've had... yeah, it'll be ogres, won't it? Because we've had the Sons of Bahamut, but then there's ogres as well. It's ogres. Right, got it. Fine. Back to our faction update. And our faction rules. Hedonites of Slaanesh. Battle formations. Pretenders. Once per battle army deployment phase. Progeny of Excess. Declare pick a friendly Hedonites of Slaanesh hero that has an artifact of power to be the target. Effect. Give the target a heroic trait from the figureheads of the Dark Prince, or Hedonistic Obsessions table. This heroic trait is given to the target during the deployment phase, not during army composition. So is that just a switch? It is just another artifact of power though, isn't it? No, it's not. It's another heroic trait. We'll go with it. I'm not entirely sure I understand that one. Invaders, combat passive, Ecstatic Revelers. Effect, add 1 to the rend characteristic of melee weapons used by friendly Sabarite infantry units while they're wholly outside friendly territory. It's army-wide, +1 rend. It's not army-wide, is it? It's unit-specific. Infantry-wide, +1 rend while you're outside friendly territory. It's nice, but do you want to burn a battle formation just on that one? So far, Slaanesh isn't being too kind, but I'm probably not understanding Pretenders. Our heroic traits, the Hedonistic Obsessions. So we have our first one, Celebrity Warlord. It's 1 command point, once per battle your movement phase. Declare pick a friendly non-hero Sabarite unit that has been destroyed to be the target. Effect, set up a replacement unit with half the number of models from the target unit, rounding up wholly within 12 inches of this unit and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. I thought that would be better, I'll be honest. It's nice, I thought it would be better. Our next one is in the enemy hero phase, the Master of Temptation. Declare, you can only use this ability if your opponent has any temptation dice. Pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of this unit to be the target. Effect, for the rest of the turn while your opponent has not used any of their temptation dice to replace a roll for the target this turn, the target can only use core abilities. So I think that's quite nice. It's an easy way of getting around it. But I think it's a real, like, mess with another player kind of thing, because if they're holding off on temptation dice, you can do that. Or maybe you'll never use it in the game, but they'll constantly be thinking, I've got to use these dice. I think that's quite nice. Our final one is a passive, the Need for Protection. Effect, the first time each turn that an unmodified charge roll, casting roll, unbinding roll or banishment roll for a friendly non-euphoric unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit is 5 or less, that unit has the euphoric keyword for the rest of the turn. So I guess that just makes them do something better for the rest of that turn. That's not useless, is it? And our war scrolls. We have Syll'Esske, the Vengeful Alliance. 8-inch move with a 4-up save, 5-up ward, 9 health, 4 control, 2 melee weapons, the Axe of Domination, 4 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, 2 rend, 3 damage. Not bad. And the Scourging Whip, 6 attacks, hits on 2s, wounds on 4s, 1 rend, 2 damage. Hits on 2s is nice, wounding on 4s is standard human. 6 attacks, yeah, it's not bad. We have 2 abilities and 1 spell. So first is a combat passive, Champions of the Gilded Throne. Effect, when players are alternating picking units to use a fight ability, when it is your turn to pick a unit, instead of picking one unit, you can pick a friendly non-hero Hedonites of Slaanesh demon unit wholly within 18 inches of this unit, and a friendly non-hero Sybarite unit wholly within 18 inches of this unit. Resolve the second fight ability immediately after the first. So it's an 18-inch bubble of, effectively, you fight after me, but it's a demon unit into a non-demon unit. Doesn't have to be this character, so you can leave this character. Maybe it's units in combat with an enemy that this unit is in combat with as well. That's quite nice. Just as a passive to do, that's really nice. And you pulling the fight where you need it most. I quite like that. So our spell goes off on a 6-up and it is not unlimited, so it's a 1 use per turn. In your hero phase, Wandering Mind. Declare, pick up to 1 visible friendly non-hero Sybarite infantry unit and up to 1 visible friendly non-hero Hedonites of Slaanesh demon infantry unit to be the target and make a casting roll of 2d6. Effect, if you picked a Sybarite target, subtract 1 from ward rolls or damage points allocated by its combat attacks until the start of your next turn. If you picked a demon target, it has ward 5 up until the start of your next turn, keyword spell. What do you mean if you picked? You would pick one of each. I suppose yeah, okay. So the non-demon gets -1 from ward rolls, the damage points allocated against an enemy, whereas the demon gets a 5-up ward. Okay, it feels a little bit fiddly. I mean, it's nice. Goes off on a 6, so you're going to get it off more than not. Hey, Slaanesh. But it's a bit wordy, I think. But then I think a lot of these abilities now are getting very wordy. Our final ability is an end of any turn ability, Violent Offerings. Effect, if any damage points were allocated to an enemy wizard or priest by this unit's combat attacks this turn and that enemy unit has been destroyed, so this unit doesn't have to kill them, add 1 to this unit's power level for the rest of the battle. This unit can be affected by this ability multiple times and its effects are cumulative. So if you go into combat and do damage to every wizard or priest on the board and they are killed by this unit or another unit that's also fighting them, you just stack wizard abilities on that unit. That's quite nice. So keywords, unique hero, wizard 1, inventory 5-up ward, chaos, Hedonites of Slaanesh, demon, and Sybarite. Obviously that wizard can be boosted. And for the pleasure of that unit, you're paying 230 points, regiment options not to 1, Slaaneshi, Beguiler or Dark Egotist, any Hedonites of Slaanesh. It's an interesting war scroll with some interesting abilities, more buffing. I mean, it buffs itself and it buffs other units, but 4-up save, 5-up ward isn't bad. Wizard, being able to upgrade that wizard power is really nice, and I don't think I've seen that before. The spell's not bad for buffing, the combat ability is nice. because you can just get 2 fight actions one after the other before your opponent can react. That's good. Yeah, I don't think that's too bad. But let's take a look at their standard faction scroll. And our standard war scroll for Syll'Esske, the Vengeful Allegiance. 8-inch move, 4-up save, with a 6-up ward, 9 health, 4 control, acts of domination, 4 attacks, hits and wounds on 3s, 2 rend, 3 damage, and the Scourging Whip, 6 attacks, hits on 2s, wounds on 4s, 1 rend, 2 damage. I don't think there's any change there. Our combat ability, any combat phase, Deadly Symbiosis. Declare, pick a friendly non-hero Sabarite unit and a friendly non-hero Hedonites of Slaanesh demon unit to be the targets. Both units must be wholly within 12 inches of this unit. Effect: for the rest of the turn, if either target uses the all-out attack or all-out defense command, the other target can also use the same command in the same phase, and no command points are spent to use the command a second time. That's a very big change because we do know, it was teased, we don't know points costs and things, but it was teased very early on in this, or maybe it was the preview. The all-out attack and all-out defense commands are being changed, and they're probably going to cost more command points to use. So that actually, depending on what those changes are, could completely change the use of that ability for this war scroll. Our next ability is a passive, the Vengeful Allegiance. Effect: each time you make an unmodified save roll of 6 for a combat attack that targets this unit, inflict 1 mortal damage on the attacking unit after the fight ability has been resolved. So each time you make an unmodified 6, so a critical save in a combat attack, you do mortal damages back. That's a nice to have. And then our spell is Hero Phase, as we know, goes off on a 7, Subvert. Declare, pick a visible enemy unit within 12 inches of this unit to be the target, make a casting roll of 2d6. Effect: the target cannot use commands for the rest of the turn. Keyword spell. This isn't a bad war scroll. Keywords: unique, hero, wizard 1, inventory, ward 6 up, chaos, Hedonites of Slaanesh, demon, and Sybarite. And that unit is 220 points. I don't think that's too bad for 220 points. So for a 10-point difference, you gain a better ward save, which is good. You gain the ability to force 2 fight actions before your opponent can attack with the required units. You gain a spell that gives a demon unit a 5-up ward and a non-demon unit -1 to ward saves against their damage, and you can buff the wizard potential if you manage to slay wizards and priests and have had damage on them. So probably worthy of the 10 points increase, and I think at 230 points I don't think it's bad. The standard war scroll at 220 points I think is good as well. We're back in that nice little grey area of whatever you want the unit to do, you pick either war scroll. I wouldn't say that there is a better. There's abilities that I prefer, I really like, and I think, again, this is going to depend on the GHB and the changes to these commands, but I do like being able to use all-out attack or all-out defense twice for the cost of once. That's really nice. I quite like if you get your spell off, you can stop an enemy unit using commands. I think that's quite nice. But obviously you are burning a spell to do that, and you only have the 1 spell. I quite like the critical saves do mortal damage back to a target as well. So all of those abilities I like. The weapons are fine. The melee weapons are both the same for each war scroll. But then I do like the new war scroll stuff as well. Yeah, I mean, Hedonites of Slaanesh players, which war scroll would give you more pleasure to use? This is a really weird video, isn't it? Moving on to our second unit, the Slaangor Fiendbloods. They're a 6-inch move with a 5-up save, 3 health, 1 control. Melee weapons, razor sharp pincers and gilded weapons, charge +1 damage, that's always nice. 4 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, 1 rend 2 damage, that's generally nice. Deployment phase ability, a veiled threat. Declare, pick this unit if it has not been deployed. Effect, set this unit up in reserve waiting in ambush. It is now being deployed, keywords deploy. We have a movement phase ability, Bestial Onslaught. Declare, pick this unit if it is waiting in ambush. Effect, Set this unit up on the battlefield wholly within 9 inches of a battlefield edge and more than 9 inches from an enemy unit, so it's a pseudo deep strike. It's nice. I quite like those abilities. Our final ability, it's a once per phase army reaction. Opponent declared a command for a unit within 12 inches of this unit. Instinctive advance. Effect: immediately after that command or the ability it was a reaction to has been resolved, this unit can move 3 inches. It can move through the combat ranges of enemy units and can end that move in combat. So it doesn't have to, but it can end in combat. That's a really nice reaction. I quite like that. Keywords: Infantry, Champion, Chaos, Hedonites of Slaanesh, and Sybarite. Oh, they're not demons? Oh, okay. So you could do your reaction 3 inches into combat with a different unit, or into a unit, and then if you use Syll'Esske, Champions of the Gilded Throne ability, you can pop it. That unit can benefit from one of them, and you can just have them fight. Fun little things you can do to terrorize your opponent. That unit of Fiendbloods is unit size 3. There is one champion in there as well, which is extra attacks, or 1 extra attack. 150 points, regiment options, Sybarite, and infantry. For 150 points, I actually think they're pretty nice. I like the deep striking idea, and then just the reaction movement once per phase. I think that's really nice. You can just keep pushing them up. Yeah, that's a nice unit. And our standard war scroll for the Slaangor Fiendbloods. 6-inch move with a 5-up save, 3 health, 1 control, melee weapons, razor sharp claws and gilded weapons. 4 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage. We have an enemy shooting phase ability, slaughter at any cost. Effect: if any damage points were allocated to this unit this turn, this unit can use the normal move ability as if it were your movement phase. Oh, that's not bad either. Keywords: Infantry, Champion, Chaos, Hedonites of Slaanesh, and Sybarite. And that unit is 120 points for the 3 models. So there is a bit of a points difference, and a bit of an ability difference as well. Is the ability to deep strike them is what it comes down to, isn't it? Is that ability worth 30 points extra? I'd argue it is. I think that's a really nice ability. I think at 120 points, if you're being shot at, you can just push them 6 inches up. I think that's really cool, especially if you have 3 units of them reinforced, just pushing up. I know you're burning a lot of points that way. That could be quite a threatening force that constantly advances. Whereas the Scourge of Ghyran War Scroll limits their advance during different phases. You only get a 3-inch, but you can do it more often, I'd argue, each, once per phase, instead of just the shooting phase. But being able to just drop them within 9 inches of a board edge, and alright, 9 inches away from enemy units, but then if an enemy unit does a command, you can push them a bit closer to make your charge easier. I think point-wise, they're very reasonable for both of them, but both units want to do the same thing. You've also got +1 damage on the charge with the Ghyran War Scroll, which is a nice little extra. I'm assuming that you're going to want to be charging these units. I think it's close. I think personally, for how I would play, and I don't know the other units, I don't really know Hedonites of Slaanesh rules, but from the glimpses that I've seen, how I would want to play is take the Scourge of Ghyran War Scroll, because it's just got a little bit more fun. I sort of like the idea of them just like coming out of a forest and they're just there, slowly encroaching on an enemy. I think that's really cool. I think damage-wise, they're pretty nice. The extra damage on the charge is always nice. For the points increase, they're definitely worth it. But I also quite like the other ability, and they're slightly cheaper, so you can do more stuff, you can fit more units in. I don't think with both of these War Scrolls that there is a definite, yes, take this. It's both a sideways step, or it's a slightly different way of doing things. I keep saying it. This is what this event, I think it's an event, has been doing really well. It's giving players different ways to think about units and different ways to actually use units and how you want to play. Obviously, and I've said this before, this is all theoretical until we see the changes that the new GHB is going to bring in full. So these War Scrolls are written with that in mind, and there's probably things that you're going to be able to do or things that you're not going to be able to do that really make these units a better choice moving forward. But on the whole, these units, I think, are very, very solid. I'm not entirely sold on all the heroic traits. They're not bad, but they're not the best that we've seen. But like I say, they're not bad, and I've not compared them to the other heroic traits, so Hedonites of Slaanesh players, let me know what you think heroic trait-wise. And also battle formation wise, I quite like Invaders, actually, the more that I think about it, but I'm sure I'm just not understanding Pretenders. And Pretenders is quite nice. Let me know what you think, if this is a faction that you enjoy playing. On the whole, I don't think it's bad. It's certainly not the worst update that we've seen. Don't think it's the best, but it's probably somewhere in the top of the middle ground based on those war scrolls. But let me know what you think in the comments. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.